Kundalini, as you are proposing it for science, offers a bridge between physics and psychology. We've just discussed physics. Can you show its significance for psychology and psychiatry?
I think research on Kundalini is essential for psychology to know the nature of mind. At the present moment, psychology deals only with the observed phenomena of mind, but nothing about its nature or what energy feeds the brain or how it is related to the body or how does the body act on it or how does mind act on the body. Nothing about this. It simply observes certain phenomena of mind such as dreams or insanity or things like that. Research on Kundalini will for the first time reveal to the psychologists how energy is supplied to the brain, what is bioenergy and how it works. It will bring before it the fact that the energy in the body, that the life in the human body is super intelligent, and that the chemical actions and reactions, our muscular actions, what happens in the sleep is not done mechanically by the cells, but that an intelligent energy courses through our body, acting and reacting, and in such an amazing and bewildering way that the human intellect cannot even trace its activity. This would be the first lesson for psychology. In fact, psychology will begin from the time of research on Kundalini. At present, psychology is no science because it does not know the nature or even how the life energy is working or how the mind is acting on the body or how the brain is fueled. It does not know many essential things. It only records some observed data about dreams, about sleep, about mental disorder, or about habits, or about that there is will and imagination and feelings, things like that. But it gives us no hints about life at all. So the study of psychology will really begin from the day research is made on Kundalini. I am not making an exaggerated statement. I am saying it with full consideration. At present, psychology is a disputed realm. Different psychologists have different theories. For instance, McDougall believes in a soul. Other psychologists do not believe in the soul. And now some biologists like Dr. Penfield, neurophysicists, they say now there must be another element in the human body. So there is confusion about the fundamentals, whether mind is an energy or is it just a transitory manifestation of some chemical activity in the body. So with this controversy about the very fundamental nature of mind, how can we expect a science to grow? About the physical science, at least we have the satisfaction that that matter which we observe or touch or see or smell undergoes certain changes through in our laboratories, and we are able to form opinions about those. But about the mind, we don't know. We even do not know whether it is a lasting substance, whether it is an independent energy, or whether it is just a chemical action of the body. Therefore, what we call modern psychology will be a science only when Kundalini research is started.
What will this tell us about the nature of mental illness?
That will come in psychiatry.
Would you speak then about psychiatry?
Yes. Well, the nature of the mental illness, so far as my experience goes, it is subject to verification. What we know as a human personality, the living, thinking I, is a certain spectrum of the bioenergy. prana. Actually, it is not the Atman. This ephemeral I, this ephemeral human ego, this ephemeral human personality, which thinks, imagines, feels, is a spectrum of prana which reflects the eternal light as a dewdrop reflects the sun. Everything happens by that reflection, by that eternal sun. But the sheath which now thinks, works, runs, fights, wars, is a spectrum of prana, of this amazing life energy. And now, according to different traditions, it has different sheaths. For instance, according to the Indian tradition, it has 3 or 4 or 5 sheaths. One is mind, one is body, one is the prana sheath, one is that. Similarly, in other traditions also. But this man whom we know and I who am talking, am a spectrum of prana. The light divine is behind it. It is unaffected. It is neither born nor died. What we perceive is the reflection of that light through the spectrum of prana. And this spectrum of prana in every individual is different. All life has evolved through the spectrum of prana. There is one specific spectrum for apes, another for baboons, another for elephants. It is this spectrum which is the heredity also, which carries on life from generation to generation. And I could even give you evidence in support of it. A person is terribly ill, and after 3 weeks, when the illness grows worse, he has delirium, and his personality is totally distorted. All his body is now trying to bring him back. In actual fact, the pranic spectrum has been distorted. And now the entire body and all the organs try to maintain its purity. Death occurs when the pranic spectrum can no longer be kept in its position. That is the reason of the death. Disease occurs when the body becomes impure. The bloodstream and the tissues, they get poisoned, and the pranic spectrum loses its original condition. That is, at once we begin to feel that we have fever, we have this, we have that. In fact, prana is the substance of which the purity is maintained by the body. What the scientists hold is that the effort of the body is to maintain the purity of the blood, which supplies the brain. But actually it is not the blood, it is the pranic spectrum, which is the aim of our eliminatory system to keep pure. And when that purity is not possible, death ensues. So every being has a pranic spectrum, and when due to certain conditions of the body, or due to a morbid awakening of the kundalini, or due to an inferior organ such as the liver or the kidney or the heart, this pranic spectrum cannot maintain its purity, a psychotic emerges.
A psychotic?
Psychotic, I mean an insane person. Then it is a disordered imagination, disordered will, disordered thought which comes before us, because the prana is now in a disoriented condition. It is not in a healthy condition at that time.
Is there a certain relationship then between the psychotic and the mystic?
Very close relationship. Mystic is a healthy flow of Kundalini prana into the brain. And a psychotic is the product of a morbid flow of Kundalini into the brain. A very close relationship. In fact, they are the two ends of the same process. And the tradition, the ancient traditions also now classed mad people as mad lovers of God or something divine or something, and even now people in India run after mad people. Some of them have clairvoyant faculties, and even in the clinics in Europe and America there are people who are mad but who pose as geniuses or as poets or as spiritual teachers or as clairvoyants. And Jung, in one of his books, The Secret of the Golden Flower, has recorded certain cases in which the insane drew drawings which resemble the mandala and the circle used in tantric practices. Naturally, it means that they had the same tendencies as the tantric worshippers had in their subconscious. In their case, they are distorted and insanity results.
So you are saying then that many of the recognized clinical symptoms of psychosis, images of light and sounds that the psychotic hears, and feelings of the skin as if worms or insects were crawling on them, are distorted reflections of what the mystic feels in the superconscious state.
Definitely. Definitely. What the mystic feels as joy, the psychotic sees as terror. What the mystic sees as light, blissful light, the psychotic sees as a blinding glare. What the mystic sees as cool and fresh, the psychotic feels as fire. So it is the same energy now, distorted, which now burns the brain, which actually madness is not just a psychic process. Actually, terribly poisoned prana goes into the brain, and the suffering is awful. I have myself experienced it in one phase. It is awful. Why some mad people commit suicide is because they cannot bear, they cannot tolerate the mental torture that they experience.
This explains then in biological terms why folklore has traditionally said that madness is next to divinity.
This is also held in India and in the Near East, that mad people are divinely inspired.
This brings me to the subject of religion then. You are proposing that a presently unrecognized form of energy links physics and psychology in the human being, and in turn links the entire human being to the cosmos. And you've used terms such as divinity and God. Would you speak now about the significance of Kundalini research for religion?
Now, what is religion? Religion has been differently interpreted. One psychologist calls it the numinous feeling. Another calls it a desire for a father. And a third one calls it as a pathological condition. So first we have to know exactly what religion means, but taking the general interpretation, let us say that religion is a belief or a feeling for the first cause of the universe, for the creator, for God, for how this world came into existence and what is my relationship